So where do we find your Charles Dickens in this film?
Yeah, we find him at quite an interesting point in his life, really, both personally, professionally, creatively. He's achieved some pretty big success with some of his early works. Oliver Twist and Pickwick Papers have sort of shot him to stardom. He's travelled the world, particularly to America, had some very, very successful reading tours, and is flush with success. He then publishes 3 books back to back that aren't quite as big a hits. Martin Chuzzlewit, American Notes, Barnaby Rudge, which of course you've read.
Yeah, oh God, yeah.
But not so great. And so he's desperate for that next hit. He's got 4 kids, 1 on the way, mounting debt, and for some reason, but we may never understand, he sets himself this impossible deadline of 6 weeks to write a Christmas book that encompasses a lot of the anger and frustration he's feeling about the society that's emerging around him, the rise of rampant industrial capitalism, and also a great love for humanity. I think he's one of our great humanist authors, really, and he finds these amazing universal themes to sort of boil down into this story. And so it's quite an interesting juncture to sort of find him at, and it's just a 6-week slice we take. We don't do the cradle to grave biopic thing. We find him at his beardless.
Yeah, I was about to say, we see a Dickens that we haven't really seen before.
Yes.
A young Dickens without the beard, was kind of looking very young and whip-smart.
There was a time where he didn't have that beard, and there's the look that we sort of came up with was based on this 1841 portrait, which does have the sort of the flowing Gene Wilder locks and no beard and some great cravats, and so that was our starting point visually, and I think also just to present a different Dickens. I mean, it's I hope a pretty faithful one in terms of both the look, but also the sort of energy and fervour of the man. We obviously take some liberties with a couple of historical details, but I wanted to remind people of just how kind of funny and witty and also very dark and dramatic he could be, and what an interesting and complex author and man that makes, really.
What's the level of research? Was it purely Muppets Christmas Carol, or was it
literally
reading every single Dickens book and going, yep?
Not every single. I read a lot of the early stuff again. There's a book called Becoming Dickens, which I thought was about the most helpful title an actor about to become Dickens could find, by an English academic called Robert Douglas Fairhurst, which focuses on those early years of ambition and fervour. And it's really in the sort of pre-Oliver Twist era that book focuses on. Also, the annotated Christmas Carol, which, if you have any interest in Christmas Carol, is really, really worth a visit. There's an American academic who wrote this, and the introduction to that has some beautiful discoveries, letters and diary entries. His daughter talking about finding him in his study, conjuring these characters, manifesting them, pulling these weird faces, making these weird voices, hours on end, not wanting to be disturbed, making it just the weirdest sounds coming out of this room. But, he really did have to sort of realise these people. And that's the conceit that we play with in the film, is that they become real. And so these characters that he sees in the street and is inspired by, they come alive in his study, and they start to really haunt him as he's having trouble unpicking the lock of this story.
And I've got one final question. You get to flex your action muscles after. You haven't flexed your action muscles since The Guest. Could you tell me anything about Apostle? Because
Apostle. Well,
that's the sort of film
I can tell you that there is a bit of action in there. It's not as relentlessly action-packed as the Raid 3 might be.
Yeah.
And a lot of people keep asking me, is it the Raid 3 in disguise? I'd love it to be. It's not. It's really, I hope, a pretty special work. It was a really unique experience, very, very tough shoot. But Gareth Evans is a wonderful filmmaker, the Welsh Tarantino. He's quite something, and I'm very excited. I'm excited to see this Gangs of London thing he's got going on. That's just been announced. He's been working on that for a bit, so that's going to be very cool and probably full of action and violence, I'm sure. I mean, nobody sells violence like him right now. I think he's very, very gifted at that, and so we'll see next year. Maybe I'll see you again for that.
Let's hope so. Fantastic. Thank you, Dan.
Cool. Nice to meet you.
Brilliant. Nice to meet you.